Slaughter Daughter, the badass bitch. Hello, welcome to the Slaughter Daughter House. I am Kelly, and I am here with my dad, Sergeant Slaughter. Hey,
as
Dad.
you were, maggots, as you were.
How you doing?
Good. Where are you? You're at the Slaughter Daughter House. I'm at the original Camp Slaughter Barracks. Sergeant
Nice.
Slaughter Barracks. I'm at the original Slaughterhouse right now.
Yes, you're at the original.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. I got to see you earlier today. That was nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
Brunch.
Never a long time, but a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always a good time for
Yeah.
sure. So today I'm really excited because we get to talk to Mattei.
Oh, cool.
Who plays you on Young Rock on
Yeah.
NBC.
Yeah, he does a great job.
He does do a great job.
Yeah.
I've got to speak to him before.
Yeah. I was saying he does a good job because I've never seen him win yet in our business, and doing a job means you get pinned. You always lose. You're a jobber. No, he's doing great. He's doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he does a great job. And I actually really love the show. I think Rock, obviously, because he lived it, we lived similarly, because everything he talks about with the way he grew up is very similar to the way I grew up in the business. I mean, he was obviously more in it. We were more sheltered from it. You and Mom kept us away from the business, whereas the Rock's parents, he was an integral part in it, it looks like, from the show.
Yeah, I remember Dewey. His name was Dewey. That's how we knew him. And he was a little guy. We running around the locker rooms, and just a friendly, fun little kid to have around. And we'd always play little ribs on him, little jokes. And one time I had some of that sour candy that you and your sister used to try to fool me with. So I thought, I'm going to fool little Dewey with it. So we always had little cups of and jars of candy around the locker rooms and in the catering. And so I took a couple of the candies out and took the wrappers off, and I put the sour candies in there, wrapped them up. And I said, "Hey, Dewey, you want some candy?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." And so I gave it to him, and he put them in his mouth. And he was such a polite kid. He went like spit it out, or his eyes started watering, and his mouth was puckering up.
He didn't know what to do.
He was such a good little kid that he was so full of manners that he wouldn't like say, "Oh, it's not good," or go run and spit it out. He actually stood there and as long as he could.
Took it like a man.
And so we used to play little jokes on him like that, but he lived for it. I think he was just there. And he was Pat Patterson and we used to always have lots of fun with Dewey. And some of the things that I watched in the show, very similar to what really happened. And the characters that Rock and the crew, Dwayne, I shouldn't call him the Rock so much, but Dwayne picked out to play some of these characters. They mimic him perfectly. Wayne does me. Sometimes I wonder if it's not me, he does such a great job of it.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
But I've known Dewey a long time, Dwayne, and a lot of the stories go back from when he was a little boy. And I remember one time we went to we were staying in Philadelphia. We were at a motor lodge where you would have a 2-story motel, and there's a place where you walk to your room after you walked up the stairs. They didn't have elevators, we just walk up the stairs, and if you were stuck upstairs, you'd have to walk and carry your bags to your room. But there would always it was always featured around a swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
Your every room when you walk out there, the swimming pool was there. And one day we were doing lunch or doing something, and I came out to see what everybody else was doing, and here uh, Little Rock, Dewey, and a bunch of his cousins were jumping off the second balcony into the pool. I mean, it was like 30 feet. They're jumping into the pool. It was crazy.
Oh man,
Just yeah, unbelievable.
that's funny. I remember meeting Rock
Yeah.
twice. I don't know. I may have met him when I was younger, but as more of an older adult, I remember meeting him twice.
Yeah.
He was always really nice
Yeah.
and very, very polite, and just he remembered meeting me.
Yeah.
So I thought that said a lot, because why
Right.
would he remembered meeting little old me, but he did remember meeting me before.
Yeah.
So
Well, he was, as you said, brought up into the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. But we were all family. It was a family.
right.
You go somewhere and you'd be there for a year, maybe a little longer, maybe less, but you were with each other every day. You would stay at the same hotels, and the
Travel
families
together.
all travel together. And as you said, your mother and I kept you back from that. We we had a home where I went to, and then that's where
Your home
we
base.
gathered. You weren't always on the road like Little Rock was. He was always That was his life. That was the life that I remember. He lived in Charlotte for a while, and Don Granado. We were going to get on Highway 77, and he pointed. He said, "That's where Rock, uh, Rock and his wife live." And of course, Dewey was still a young boy at that time, so it was just a family. The family lived there, and I'm sure he went to probably some of the schools you probably went to before you came back to Charlotte.
Well, way before I went there, because Rock is older than I am. He's like
Oh, he
7 years
is.
older than
Yeah.
I am. Yeah, he is.
But yeah, I would not see him all the time because once he got older into high school and got into college, then he kind of left us. We didn't
He's doing
see
his
him
own
as
thing.
much. And
Yeah.
we'd always, I'd always go up to his dad and ask how he was doing, and he'd give me the lowdown on where he was and how he was doing. And as he progressed into the college football and then went into the pro football, I tried to follow him, but it was tough. We didn't always get a lot of time to watch televisions and things like that. We're always wrestling, and two days, two shows on a Saturday, two on a Sunday. Didn't give you a whole lot of time traveling in between those shows
No.
to watch much, but try to
No.
keep updated through the parents, and I knew Rock's mom real well, and his grandmother worked for his grandmother one time, and of course, uh, he always was in your mind, but out of sight, out of mind, you know. And then every once in a while, he'd come back, like we'd have a Thanksgiving or something with Pat and Louie and Rock and his wife would come, Rocky's mom, Rock's mom, and most of the time, Rock didn't come. He was back at college or with his friends. Didn't want to hang out with us.
Right.
He really, really didn't
He
know
was too
us.
cool for you at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he came into the professional wrestling. He was he wanted it. He was a great athlete. A little uncoordinated for the wrestling ring, but you know they worked around it. nobody liked him at first because of his characters and because of being the son of a wrestler, and they thought, oh, he's just walking in, making it easy. But he wanted his own identity, so he tried a couple of different characters. And then we had a production meeting, and Vince decided to do something with about 4 or 5 guys that were, kind of a group of roughnecks. Yeah, I wish I could remember the name of them, but Rock really kind of stood out. He kind of, when he would get the microphone, he would blow the other guys out of the water. He just was so.
He's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Yeah, there it was. That's where it started. And every time he'd come back from the ring and come up the ramp, I'd always see him, and I'd say, Rock, do you hear those people? What do you mean? I said, listen to the people. And he'd stand there and he'd listen, and I'd say, you hear that? They like you. They like you. You're entertaining them. They're, no matter what you do, they are being entertained. So just keep up what you're doing. So back then we didn't have scripts at that point. So a lot of it was ad lib. And so as week after week after week, he came up that ramp, and I said, you hear those people, Rock? You hear them? Yeah. That's where
They're just popping for him, huh?
You gotta go their way. You can't stop it. It started and it's on its way. So eventually he broke away from the faction. I think that's what they were, some type of a faction. Ron Simmons and a bunch of the guys, and they kind of broke away, and that was it. I mean, Rock was on his own and started doing these matches where he would do the elbow, and it was so unorthodox that it was really kind of very entertaining, and only he could do it. He'd do the switch across and go around and jump over the guy a couple of times and stop and look at the people and give the eyebrow and do an elbow. And I mean, it was just so creative what he did.
Yeah.
And
he was putting on a show.
It was fun to work with him. It was fun to work with him because he wanted it so bad. And he was just great entertainer. I remember back when he was the little boy, and he would come in the locker room, and he'd come walking over to me, and I'd say, hey, what's your name? And he'd go, my name's, and before he could say it, I said, it doesn't matter what your name is. Because that was something that we used to do. And now,
you
of course,
used to do that to me and my sister all the time.
Yeah. He used to do it to you all the time.
Yeah.
And he somehow that went into his brain, and he brought it out into his character. And one night he was doing a promo, and he had somebody walked in the ring and said something to him, and he said, what's your name? And the wrestler went to tell him, he says, it doesn't matter what your name. And the people just went crazy. And I said, look at that. All those years before, I just said that to him a couple, not a couple times, almost all the time, but it got into his brain. I don't know if he realized it, but it's fun to see that happen.
Yeah, it get used in that way.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was something that just was like said backstage or something that all the guys said, because he does credit his mom doing that in the show.
Right.
Her doing that to him. But I remember you doing that to me and doing it to my sister and doing it to my friends.
Yeah.
And we would laugh and be like, like roll our eyes sometimes or whatever. And then I remember seeing Rock do that, because then that became like the thing. That was his thing. And I was like, I remember my dad doing that to us.
Yeah. But it's great that he took it way beyond what we were doing it for. I mean,
yeah.
Just like, we have sayings, between
Well, I remember you
ourselves.
used to say, like, you can't hurt steel. Like, you'd be
Right.
like, you think that hurts? You
Yeah.
can't hurt steel.
Right. You know what that is, Kelly? That's a rack. That's a gun rack.
Yeah.
And all those
Little
things that
things.
we used to do. And but it's just mind-boggling what he's done from going into the squared circle and then beyond. It's pretty incredible. He's. I
Absolutely.
mean, when I turned on the Super Bowl this year, and he was the first thing. I mean, that's you're over. That's why
Yeah.
you're over.
Yeah.
When you start talking at the Super Bowl before they even have a coin toss, you know you're over.
Right.
Everybody knows you. I mean,
Yep.
it's pretty incredible. But there's so many stories I could tell about the Rock. He's just he was one of a kind, and he was, he liked speed, and I saw him in those movies where he was driving the cars, and I don't know, he
You mean
always
he
liked
liked to go fast? He didn't
he liked
like
to go fast.
speed like
He
the
always liked to go
truck.
fast, and he was a flasher. He dressed the part, and he just enjoyed his life, and Pat Patterson, big influence on myself and Rock and a lot of guys. But
Hmm.
I know if it wasn't for Vergania, Harley Race, Pat Patterson, I wouldn't be sitting here on this podcast because they showed me so much about the business I'm in
Hmm.
and how to handle it. And Lord Alfred Hayes, he was a great teacher, and those four guys right there just taught me so much about the business and how to handle it, and who is this, who's that. Don't worry about that guy. Just take care of yourself. And they all showed me that Sergeant Slaughter was a business. It wasn't something that you just go out and throw your money away for drinks and all the partying, and this was what Sergeant Slaughter was, a business.
Right.
And in
It's a brand.
1975, I incorporated it, and
Hmm.
not knowing that one day would help me, it hurt me, but in the long run, it's me. That's
Yeah.
I never look back at anything that I've done. I always made the decision, and I kept with my decision, whatever my decision was. And when I came back out of GI Joe with the WWE, and Vince wanted me to be the Iraqi sympathizer, your mother thought I was out of my mind. That I was going to get killed. And
You almost did.
yeah, several times.
Mm.
And she just told me flat out, she said, "You've always done what's best for your character, so go ahead and do it if that's what you want to do." So I said, "Okay, thanks." I had her approval. That's all I needed. So then I
Right.
called Vince the next day. We were sitting at the dinner table, your sister and I and your mom, and she looked over at me because I, told her that I was going to do this, and she said, "You can't do that. You're going to get killed. You're GI Joe. How can you go from GI Joe, the real American hero, to an Iraqi sympathizer?" And she kept making good points, good points. She always
Right.
has, always
Right.
will.
Hmm.
But I saw my opportunity, and I had all these ideas already. I just driving from Vince's house back home to tell you guys at dinner. I was already thinking of things I could do to really make people upset. So anyway, she gave
And
me
you did
her.
make a lot of people upset.
Yeah, sure did. But
Mm.
that was why they wanted to do it, and it caused a lot of more. It brought a lot more attention to WWE at that time.
Well, they say any publicity is good publicity.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's why you get the big bucks. That's what I told your mother. That's why I always tell your mother. But,
You brought up Lord Alfred Hayes,
right.
and his daughter Candy actually commented on our very first episode and wanted to know if that plane crash story that you told, if her dad was there, because he always told a story of the scariest plane ride of his life, and she was wondering if that was it.
That was one of them. We were in a couple of them. One time on an airliner, I believe it was an old Braniff Airlines. We were flying back from, I think it was Oklahoma or something, to Minneapolis, and there was only maybe about 10 or 12 people on the plane, and we were going through some horrible lightning and wind and bouncing all around, and they actually put us all up in first class. The wrestlers, there's Lord Alfred Hayes and myself and Pat Patterson and Dick Bachwinkle, Bobby Heenan, and we're all sitting there, and everybody's pretty petrified. And all of a sudden, this ball of fire came down the aisle from the back of the plane and hit the door of the pilots where they sit. And I went, "Did you see that?" And Lord Alfred said, "My God, what was that? What was that?" And of course, the stewardesses are all buckled in. They're not doing anything. They're just hanging on for their lives too. And all of a sudden, another one came through, and finally, Lord Alfred was like, "Goodness gracious, what was that? What that was that ball? Are we on fire?" And so the stewardess unstrapped herself and came over. She said, "No, that happens for some reason. Lightning strikes and it goes into a ball." She said, "It's hard. We don't know how to explain it, but it's actually a ball of electricity, and it."
Oh my God!
I'm
never flying again.
To experience something like that is pretty. It's hard to, unless you have witnesses. It'd be pretty hard to tell somebody that really happened, but it happened. Happened twice, yeah.
That's incredible.
But the other one where we were on that smaller plane was, we were one time we were flying to where were we flying?
Hey, Dad, we've got Wayne backstage.
Oh, you do?
We've got Wayne backstage, so let's pause for a second and bring him on.
All right.
And then you can tell the story.
Okay.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Wayne.
Good morning.
As you were.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I like the shirt.
Yes, a pretty special man sent me this shirt in the mail. I'm very proud of this.
I see you're growing your beard back a little bit.
Yes, I've grown it back. It's come back at the moment for now. I've got some hair as well, which is quite surprising because I don't have a lot there anymore, but there is some at the moment. So
yeah. Well, it's good to finally meet you in person. Not in person, but good to talk to you. Wonderful.
Yes, we've been.
Congratulations on everything you've done with your career, and we should probably let you kind of explain how it all started for you as getting into. I don't know what I guess you were in the protection business to begin with, but before that, I'm sure you probably must have played some football and other sports, some rugby, I would imagine.
Yeah, look, I've had an interesting upbringing. I'm an only child, so it was just me growing up. I had no brothers or sisters, so I had to entertain myself a lot by going outside, playing, doing whatever I could, and that's essentially what gravitated me to wrestling in the first place. It was something that my dad showed me on TV that I'd never seen before, especially in Australia. We weren't privy to years of wrestling and so on, especially me as a kid. So I ended up watching the first WrestleMania, And I just lost my mind that there are these massive, ginormous men beating the hell out of each other and, not getting arrested, but doing anything that they wanted. And I'm like, I love this. Yeah. So as a young man, I gravitated to that. I played football here in Australia, which is not quite the same as your football. We don't wear the helmets and the shoulder pads and everything, but it is still quite rough. So I did that for a little bit. Then I played basketball because I ended up shooting up tall when I was young. But really, wrestling was my main thing as a child that I really enjoyed. And coming from Australia, it's something that I found really hard to express because a lot of the other kids in school were not wrestling fans. It wasn't as big as it is nowadays. This is back in the early 80s, 84, 85. I remember we had a diary for school, and you were able to draw on your diary at the front cover and create a cover of your diary to personalize it. So mine had the WWF logo, and it had everyone on it that I could draw and all this sort of stuff. But unfortunately, that used to get me beat up because they used to go, "What is this wrestling rubbish? This is just crap," and they'd throw it at you, and then they'd get stuck into you. So I think that kind of made me harden up and toughen myself up to kind of the person where I am now and what I've done for years. So, but it's ironic, I think, with the wrestling path that I've had, I was destined for it from the age of about 13. We had, back then, I think I was 13, would have been 84, 5, about 86, 87. And the WWF were going to do a big tour of Australia. And I was obsessed. I said to my mum, "You have to get me tickets." Mum worked in a department store in the city. She used to drive the lifts. So she'd be the lift lady that when the door would open, she'd go, "Second floor, ladies, shoes, handbags, blah, 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 blah." And I thought she was amazing that she could remember all of that to start with. But I said to her, "Mum, you need to get me tickets to this show." So she come home one day and she goes, "I've got you and your dad front row."
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Front row.
"Are you serious?" And she goes, "Yep, front row."
Front
All right. So week leading up to the show, I'm getting all really excited, and, especially at that age, I'm like, "Ooh." Then she comes home probably 2 days before the show, and she goes, "Who's that man that you watch in the wrestling?" And I'm like, "Which one?" She goes, "The one with all the hair and the green tongue." I've gone, "George, the Animal Steel?" She's gone, "Yeah." She goes, "He was in my lift today."
Oh,
I've gone,
wow.
She goes, "He comes in with this beautiful blonde woman. He's got gold chains. He's dressed immaculate, big gold rings. Spoke perfectly.
Yeah.
None of this angry yelling and screaming that he did in the ring." And she goes, I said to him, "Excuse me, are you the Animal?" And he goes, yes, I am." She goes, "Oh my God, my son and my husband are going to see you in 2 nights' time." And he's like, "Oh, that's wonderful." She come home and she told me, and I said to her, "Did you get his autograph?" She goes, "No, I didn't have a pen." I'm like, "Oh." Being a kid, not understanding the dynamics of your mum's been able to speak to George the Animal Steel. All I cared about was, did you get an autograph?
Right.
Right.
So I was like, I'm half devastated, but I know I'm going to the show, so it didn't matter. So I come to the night of the show. I've got on your camouflage pants.
Oh.
I've got on a black T-shirt, which then my dad bought me a WrestleMania 2 T-shirt. So I put the T-shirt on over the top. So I've got my camo pants. I've got my WrestleMania 2 T-shirt. And I'm sitting in the front row. And I'm watching all the matches.
Oh, no. Wayne, we lost you.
We lost Wade. Well, he'll come back.
We lost you, Wayne.
Cool story.
I know. It's such a good story. I want to hear the rest of it.
There we are.
There he is.
There we are. Okay.
Excellent. Where was I? Yeah, so we get to the show. George jumps in the ring with Cowboy Bob Orton. They circle around a bit. And, of course, George flips out, starts trashing the place, gets out of the ring. He's picking chairs up and throwing them into the ring. And these are chairs that are 4 chairs connected together and so on. Next minute, he comes around to our side of the ring where we are, and he looks at me and my dad, and he goes, "Move!" We've got out of the way. He's grabbed the whole stack of our chairs, thrown them into the ring, and it's gone berserk. He gets back into the ring and he's walking around and he's looking at everyone. And I'm standing there holding on to my dad's leg going, oh, my God. And next minute, George points at me and he goes, you. And I've gone, he goes, you. And I'm like, oh, I'm frozen. I didn't know what to do. And this WWF official's come up and grabbed me and he goes, George wants you in the ring. And I'm like, oh, my God. So he picks me up and he slides me under the ring. George takes me over to the corner to the turnbuckle and he's pointing at the turnbuckle like this. And I know what he used to do to the turnbuckle, and I figured out what he was trying. He goes, like that, so I've got it, and I've just ripped the turnbuckle up and thrown all the foam everywhere and so on. The crowd went nuts. George loved it. I hopped out of the ring, got home, told Mum, and the next day I was the king of the school after that. So that's my first time I ever was in a wrestling ring was when I was 13. So
wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
I've got pictures of it. I managed to get in touch with George's family prior to him passing away, and I shared the photos with them. And they said that George really loved it, and he said, thank you so much. So I thought that was fantastic to be able to do that just before he was passing away, because that was a huge memory for me. So
that's going to be with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, definitely. And I still have all the pictures for it from the old Instamatic camera and all that. So they're bad quality, but they're really good memories. So, but that's the first time I stepped into the ring. The actual real time that I stepped in the ring is completely different. So,
I have a similar story. I grew up watching wrestling with my dad, of course. And I was probably 3 or 4 years old when I started watching professional wrestling with him and my uncles. And so we went to an airport. I think I was probably 7 or 8 years old at this time. And we went to pick up my aunt at the Minneapolis airport. And back then you could walk right up to the gate and wait for somebody to get off the plane. And so we were waiting for my aunt's plane to come in and unload. And in the meantime, another plane came in and unloaded. And one of the passengers was Jumpin' Joe Scarpello. And Joe was one of my favorite wrestlers. And so my dad said, Bobby, look, there's Jumpin' Joe Scarpello. And I went, oh my God, it is. And he was just this bronze. He was such a sun. He had this suntan, bronze suntan, and just built really massive looking, And my dad said, why don't you go get his autograph? I said, no, I'm not going over there. I'm still a shy kid today, but back then I'm not going over there. I went behind my dad and don't make me go over there. And finally he takes me over. He says, hey, Joe. And Joe turns around and says, my son wants to meet you. He says, he does? Oh, hey, what's your name? And I finally came out behind my dad's leg, Bobby. And he said, oh, come on, is it okay for Bobby to carry my bag to the car? Yeah, go ahead. So I'm carrying his bag, and I get outside the airport, and there's this beautiful white Cadillac. I'll never forget it. It had the wings on the back where the back lights were, and a beautiful car. And this beautiful blonde lady gets out, all just like you had described. She had all the gold and just a beautiful looking lady, and opens up the trunk, and it was his wife, of course. And he opens up the trunk, and we talked a little bit. And I never asked him for the autograph, and he never offered one. But he said to me, so Bobby, you better go back in and, get with your parents. And I said, okay. He said, but tell me, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I said, a fireman? A fireman? Yeah, well, maybe a policeman. A policeman? I think you're going to be a wrestler. And I said, okay. And I ran.
Whatever you say.
And so I ran in, and I was just so thrilled. And years and years and years later, I get the opportunity to go through a pro wrestling training camp. And at this time, about 8 weeks into it, my trainers, Vern Gagne and Billy Robinson, went to Japan for 4 weeks. So they said a couple of guys are going to come in and train you guys while we're gone. But we got everything written down for what you have to do. So we're in this. This is like in January, February. So we moved out of this old barn that was out in the middle of nowhere into an armory. And so I look in the distance while I'm in the ring, working out, and I see this guy coming up, and it's Joe Scarpello, of all people, is coming to train me, And so we went to the training all day long, and he loved the fireman's carry. So he says, anybody know how to do a fireman's carry? So I raised my hand, and he says, okay, show it to me. So I did it to one of the guys, and he goes, that was pretty good. Let me see that again. So I showed it. Pretty soon we're all doing a fireman's carry, and he told everybody, make sure you do it like, what's your name, boy? I said, Bob. Do it just like Bob. So we go through the whole day and getting ready to leave, and he says, excuse me, Bob, do you have a car? I said, well, I got a pickup truck. My dad and I had a roofing company at that time. And he said, well, could I get a ride to the VFW or the YMCA? Because that's where I'm staying. And I said, yeah, I'll give you a ride. I said, as soon as I drop you off, I'm going to go work out. And he says, oh, is there a gym here? I said, yeah. He said, I'd love to go with you if you don't mind. I said, okay. So we go and we work out a little bit, go into the hot tub and take a shower, take a swim, and getting ready to drive him back to his YMCA room. And I said, Joe, I've got to ask you something. Many, many, many years ago, you came off an airplane at the Minneapolis airport, and I met you. And he stopped and he looked over at me and he goes, you're the little boy from the airport. Yeah, I remember you. You carried my bag and you put my bag in a trunk. And I asked you what you were going to be, and you said a wrestler. I said, no, you said I was going to be a wrestler. He said, well, here you are. And he said, I think you're going to make a good wrestler. So I ended up meeting this. Of course, now I'm 6'6", and I'm, close to 300 pounds. And Joe wasn't as big as he looked when I was a young boy. Joe was a much smaller guy, and he had basically retired, living in Omaha, Nebraska. And so it was quite a thrill to meet him. And the biggest thrill of it all was I get a call from Vern Gagne, and he goes, Bob, are you able to go to Omaha, Nebraska? One of the guys called in sick, and I need somebody to. I said, yeah, I'll go. So I go, and as you know, you walk into the locker room and you see the lineup. And I start going down to see who I'm wrestling. And I'm the second match, and I'm wrestling Jumpin' Joe Scarpello. Can you imagine? No, I'm wrestling this guy, after meeting him when I was about 7 years old. Now I'm going to wrestle.
Favorite wrestler.
And so they brought in the referee came and said, Joe's going to do you a favor. And I said, oh, he is? Oh, okay. And so I said, I don't know if I need any favors. He's not the biggest guy in the world, and he's semi-retired, basically. So the match was supposed to be a 15-minute match. So it kept going. And back then, they'd give you the 5 minutes to go. The announcer would always let the wrestling fans and us know 5 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go, 1 minute to go. And the referee says to me, Bob, you better get going. You can't waste any more time. It's almost over. And so I worked it out so that Joe was on top of me. And the referee counted 1, 2, and the bell rang. Ding, 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 ding. And the referee says, you are in big trouble. You are in big trouble. So I walked back, and it was a draw. I just couldn't couldn't beat Joe
do it.
Scarpello. There was no way I could beat the guy that helped me out and told me I was going to be a professional wrestler. So a little while later, after I take my shower, here comes Joe through a side entrance, and he's got a towel over his head. He says, "Thank you very much. That was really nice of you to do that. This is my hometown, and everybody still believes in me and this and that." And I said, "Hey, Joe, there's no way that you're lucky you didn't beat me." Yeah, man, that's how I admired him so much. So, but it's fun times. You know, you just never know what's going to happen in our business. You know,
absolutely, they're great memories. That's awesome.
And so from you having that experience with George the Animal, that really put it into your. I mean, you wanted to do it before that. I mean, you wanted to be a professional wrestler. And what did you do from that point on? Did you start training, or did you were you too young then yet?
No, what had happened was during school I was a short, little overweight kid, so I would get bullied a lot. And with the addition of liking pro wrestling, just made it twice as hard for me. So kept to myself. I had 3 really close friends of mine that I grew up with that lived in the same area, so we all hung out together and played and did our thing. But when I got to about 16 in high school, I shot up really tall and I got really thin. So then I started doing some martial arts. I started training in karate. Back then, you know, in the early 90s, that was the big thing, that Van Damme, Steven Seagal, all those sorts of people who, in fact, I've protected, mind you. So that was a big kick in itself, but that's another story.
Cool.
So I did the martial arts training, but then I got drawn to the gym. And I wanted to put weight on because I wanted to look like a wrestler. They were just big, as you were as well, just a solid unit of a man that everyone would just look up to literally and go, "Oh my God, this guy is massive." So that's where I wanted to go. So I started bodybuilding. And I think I had my first bodybuilding contest when I was 19 or 20. And I won Junior Mr. South Australia the first time.
Wow.
Then came back 6 months later and won the title again, which normally you're supposed to leave a gap of a year or 2 before you compete again. But I was that obsessed. I'm like, I've got to do it again. So I came back second time, won the title again. And then my third time around, I was moving up to a bigger competition. And I unfortunately had an injury in the gym where I tore my pec muscle off my shoulder. I was on bench press. And if you've ever got, and I'm sure you have, a big stick in the bush and you snap it across your knee, that's the sound that my chest made when it gave way. Yeah. It was horrible. So I had to sit down in the gym and I'm like, oh my God, what has just happened, you know, and I'm feeling sick and everything. Long story short, I figure out I've torn my chest. Yeah. So I went and had surgery to fix it up, come back out, and of course, there's always a defect in the position of where you have an injury. It's always going to happen. So when I looked at myself in the mirror and that, I didn't have symmetry anymore, which is one of the things they look for in bodybuilding, is the symmetry of the body and so on. So I thought, right, well, you know, I'm still going to keep training. I'm not going to stop. And I kept training and pushing myself. And I got up to, in Australian terms, it's 142 kilos. So that's well over 300 pounds. And I'm 6'3", so I'm not quite as tall as you, Sarge, but I'm up there. So, and I was doing security work because I was older then as well too. So, and I got asked to do security for a local wrestling show in Adelaide in Australia, and I didn't know they had local wrestling shows here at all. So for me, that was a big kick in itself. Going, oh my God, a wrestling show, absolutely. So they wanted 5 guys from me because I had the security company. So I sent 4 and I came along myself. Back then I had short hair like this, but it was bleached pure white, almost like what it looks like right now, to be honest. And really big, 142 kilos. I had no tattoos then whatsoever. And I decided to position myself just next to the runway where the wrestlers come from the stage down and into the ring. So we're all in position. I'm standing there waiting, and then the doors open, and all these people come rushing in and so on like this. And all of a sudden, there's this massive influx of kids, about 20 kids come running straight at me. And they've got the old flip phone, and they flip the phone out, and they're taking pictures like this. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're one of the wrestlers, aren't you? And I'm like, no, that there says security. I'm not a wrestler. You're in the show. Look, you're in the show. You're huge. I'm like, I'm
How
not.
did you know?
Yeah.
You're bigger than the wrestlers.
Yeah. So what had happened was the show went on. Everyone kept looking at me, and you were right. When the wrestlers come out, they'd walk past me, and I'm just towering over them and making them look like these little fellas. And after the show, the promoter comes up to me, and I said, is everything okay? Are you happy with everything? Because he was my client. And he said, yeah. He said, there's one problem. So, okay, tell me what it is, and I'll take care of it for you. And he goes, it's you.
Yeah.
I said, okay. What did I do wrong? I said, I haven't moved all night. I didn't touch anyone. He said, no. He said, you've done nothing wrong. He said, but everyone was looking at you and not the ring.
You took the attention away from everybody.
Yeah. And he's like, everyone's expecting you to do something. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry. I said, look, I love wrestling. That's why I've come, and that's why I put myself here so I could see the ring. I said, look, I won't come anymore. I'll put somebody else in my spot, and we'll leave it at that. And he said, no. He said, I have a solution. So, okay. I said, what's that? He goes, have you ever thought about becoming a wrestler? And my eyes just went like this. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm having somebody now ask me if I wanted to train to become a wrestler. And I said, look, I said, I'm 20, I think I was 26, 27. I said, I haven't done this before. I said, but I've watched it since I was 5. I said, so I know a lot about it. He said, well, let's put you in the ring and see how you go. So I went to the first training session. What they did is they had a ring set up in a squash court. You know, the game squash where you smack the ball against the wall. It's like a prison cell almost. So there's no room on the outside of the ring. It's basically engulfed by this room. And he says, right, come in. And he takes me in. He goes, okay, I want to see you do a back break fall. So, of course, you squat down and off you go. And I've done that. And he's looked at the other trainer. He's looked at me again. He goes, do it again. Do it again. He goes, have you've not done this before? And I said, no. He said, all right. He goes, do you think you could do a front flip into a break fall? He said, we'll put a person on their hands and knees, sort of like the wooden horse thing, and you can flip over the top and do that. He said, do you reckon you could do that? I said, yeah, I reckon I could do that. Whoop, bang, straight away, perfect break fall. And they just looked at each other and gone, are you serious? He's gone, how big are you again? I said, I'm about 142 kilos. And he said, what, 6'3"? And I said, yeah. And he said, you're doing these flying break falls already? And I said, yeah. He said, are you sure you've not trained? I said, no, I've just watched it. I've studied wrestling since I was a little kid. I said, I watched every move. I watched everything. It's just, I don't know. I just absorbed it somehow. So long story short, I did 8 months of training. I kept working the wrestling shows, kept standing in the same position, kept like this, not moving, just watching. Kids would still take pictures. Until one day they just kind of gave up, and that's when we knew it was time. The kids would walk in, they'd see me, they go, hey, Wayne, how you doing? And go over and then take the seats. So this night they've brought in a sports commentator from the TV, from the news. His name was Makenzie. He was a very famous TV reporter. And near the end of the show, he's hopped into the ring, and the heels are in the ring because they've just won and so on. So he starts to try and interview the heels. And they're giving it to him. And so next minute, they just nail him. And they drop Mark in the ring. And they're just fully stomping on him. And the crowd's going nuts because they all love Mark. All of a sudden, I'm standing there. I'm waiting for it. And next minute, I've just ripped off my security shirt. And I've just ran straight into the ring. Wow. And I've just wiped out every single heel that's in the ring. And saved Mark's ass, basically. And the crowd went berserk. There is very average phone footage on YouTube of that night when I first ran into the ring, and the place just exploded, and I'd never felt that way in my life ever. You know, I just picked guys up over my head, and I gorilla pressed the guy, and I slammed him on the ground, and just choke slammed another guy, and I was like, holy cow. But that's how my wrestling debut started, and how I first got into it was by doing this sneaky security thing until the time was right. So
you were a natural. You were like myself. You were a good observer of the the business,
Mm.
and you saw and heard what the audience wanted to see and to hear. How old were you at this time?
About 26.
Okay, and were you married at that time?
No, I wasn't married at that time, but I did have a partner that I was with for quite some time.
Right.
Much similar to you with your last email to me. She was not a fan of me starting to become a wrestler for similar reasons of, traveling, being taken away and all that. So, yeah.
When did the Maniac start?
It's funny.
What did you bring the character? Did you think of the character, or did somebody suggest it to you? Because it fits you so well.
The funniest thing was my mum was not a big fan of me becoming a wrestler. She knew I loved it. She used to watch me and Dad watch it.
Mm.
Did we lose him again?
You're frozen again, Wayne.
Nope.
We lost you.
Well, unfortunately, we lost Wayne at the moment, but he'll be back.
We'll edit it all out. No worries.
You're with the Slaughter daughter at the Slaughterhouse.
Oh my goodness. So
that was good stories. How he
did have some really that was a really good story about. That was good that they did that.
Yeah.
Because everyone kind of forgot about him. Like, okay, he's not going to be a wrestler. He's not going to jump in.
Right.
And then that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
That was good.
Element of surprise.
Yeah.
Always works in our business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you least expect it.
And now you know.
And now you know.
Let's see. We were one time on a plane from we were coming from Denver, Colorado, and in order to get back to Minneapolis, we had to stop in Omaha, Nebraska. So to refuel. So when we heard we had to stop in Omaha, we had an 8-passenger plane. So we asked the pilot, could he call ahead and order some ribs, because there was a famous Omaha rib place that we used to all go to after we would wrestle. And so he said, yeah. So he asked everybody what they wanted. So we all gave him our orders. And when we landed, we went to into the terminal and we got our food. We paid for it and we went back on the airplane. And after we got done fueling, we started back on our journey. And I noticed 2 of the wrestlers in the back of the plane where the door was, they were kind of going a little crazy. And I think they may have had a few things other than the ribs. They were kind of whacked out, wackos. And so as we're flying, I look up and I see one of them is Mad Dog Bashan. And he's bald, and he's got barbecue sauce from the top of his head down to his chin, just all over. And he's looking around, and we're playing cards. Lord Alfred Hayes is across from me, and Greg Gagne and someone else. I think it was Pat Patterson. We were playing a game of cribbage, and I was looking at Mad Dog, and he was like looking around for something, and all of a sudden he tore the curtains right off the door of the plane, the window, and he started wiping himself off.
Oh,
and I thought, gee, he's going crazy back there. He could have just asked for some napkins. And so I didn't watch much more, and we kept on eating and playing cribbage, and all of a sudden I heard this big gush of wind, and I looked up and the door of the airplane was open.
No.
And that dog was trying to reach to get the door.
To close it?
To close it. And we're 8,000 feet in the air. And this horrible sound is, so my back's to the pilot. So I open up the curtain for the pilot. I said, the door is open. He says, I know the door is open. Right. I know the door is open. He said, I'm trying to get clearance to land
nobody
somewhere.
Get sucked out?
Yeah. So we then I start seeing him throw stuff out the door. Mad Dog.
What?
He's throwing stuff out of the door. Yeah,
Oh
the
my
trash
God.
can, bunch of stuff. And so finally we land, and it was pretty scary, because of the sound, just the sound. And so we finally land.
Things out.
The what?
And he's throwing things out.
Yeah, throwing things out. So we land.
Right.
And Mad Dog, as soon as we land, he grabs his bag and he starts walking down the runway.
Like nothing
happened. Pilot, we all get out. He says, everybody out, everybody out. So we all get out of the tarmac or where we were. And he yells at Mad Dog, where are you going? He said, to my car. He said, we're not in Minneapolis. We're in some other place. I had to make an emergency landing. I think we were in like Sioux Falls or something like that. He said, come on back. We got to get back in the plane. So okay. So he walks back to the plane. We all get back in the plane, and the pilot looks at the door and shakes on it and makes sure it's okay. So then he turns to us and he says, I have to know one thing before I go back into the cockpit. Did that door open by itself, or did someone open it? And so I wasn't an eyewitness, but I was looking at the door. And of course, Lord Alfred didn't have his. We all turned when we heard the noise, so we all saw what was going on. So nobody says anything because that wasn't the thing to do. You didn't squeal or
be a rat.
You didn't rat anybody out,
Right.
Swore to secrecy,
Mm-hmm.
So he says it again. He said, well, I'm going to ask it one more time. Did that door open by itself, or did someone open it? And nobody's saying anything. He says, well, we're just going to stay right here until I get an answer, because I have to tell the FAA. Otherwise, if I tell them, something's bad, we aren't going to take off. We're going to spend the night here. So finally, it got real quiet, and Mad Dog, like a little puppy, says, I opened it. And the pilot went berserk. He says, you opened that door? What is wrong with you? You could have got us all killed. What's wrong with you?
Right.
Mad Dog's like being scolded. He's got his head down and he's not making, he's like whimpering, and the pilot's just shaking his finger at him. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? He said, if that door would have flew off and hit the tail, we'd all be dead right now. And
oh my God.
like, and he said, and where's the trash can? I threw it up. What? You threw the trash can out? If that would have hit the tail weight, he kept making it worse and worse and worse. So finally, Mad Dog had enough, and he grabs the pilot and starts choking. And he's got him down on the floor of the plane. He's choking him. Don't yell at me anymore. Don't yell at me. So we all dive over, and the closest guy pull the Mad Dog off the pilot. And so Mad Dog gets up, and the pilot said, just tell me one thing. Why did you open the door? And Mad Dog says, I was hot. And the pilot said, hot? If you're hot, tell me. I'll put the air conditioner on. Don't open the damn door at 8,000 feet. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. And one of the things, other than the trash can he threw out, was the tag team championship titles. his belt went out the door too. And so I don't know if anybody ever found it or where it might be, but it never
laying
came
in
back.
a ditch somewhere.
So we finally landed in Minneapolis, and that dog, of course, was banned from ever flying on the plane again.
I'm sure.
It was a crazy flight that time. We're lucky not to have died on that one. That's for sure.
That is scary.
Just the door being open, the pilot had to really fight the plane to, land it. It's
yeah,
horrible thing.
Suction, the pressure change, and
but that was one that Lord Alfred Hayes was a part of, and of course the one with Roddy Piper when we were flying from Charlotte to Roanoke, Virginia, and we hit a turbulence. And we were rocking and rolling pretty good. So nobody was doing anything. We weren't playing cards because we were all petrified, terrified. And I took the seatbelt and wrapped it around my wrist. And it was like a bunking Bronco. It was like boom, bang, boom, bang, boom. And that went on for 5 minutes. And that seemed like an eternity. And then all of a sudden, boom, we went up 500 feet, they told us, and then came right back down 500 feet in a matter of seconds. And everybody yelled out, it was a kind of a pretty scary moment. I thought we were dead for sure. And,
I remember you telling me a story about flying through Russia.
Yeah.
And being afraid that the wings were going to fall off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that night when we were going to Roanoke, when we finally landed, one of the wrestlers, Wahoo McDaniels, said, "Has anybody seen my cowboy boot? I'm missing a cowboy boot." And his cowboy boots were on his feet. And we hit so hard that one of his cowboy boots flew off his foot. That's how hard we were going. And I looked down between Roddy and I, and there was Wahoo's boot. So we passed it back to him. And then I looked, and Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant was crying, and he said, "I'm dying, I'm dying," and he said, I'm bleeding," and I looked and I said, "No, Jimmy, you're okay. That's your spit cup." It flew up on you. He had a spit cup, and it flew up and landed on the top of his head. It was coming down his head, his forehead. He thought it was blood, so he looked, saw it wasn't blood. But so we got off the plane. I kept looking over at Hot Rod, and he was not looking well, and he was kind of moaning and wasn't saying much. I said, "You okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay, Uncle Bob. I'm all right." So we get off the plane, and he was like, his equilibrium was way off. And I said, "Well, there's no way you're wrestling tonight. Something's wrong." I thought maybe he got a concussion or something like that, because he didn't have a seatbelt on. He his head hit the ceiling of the plane several times because he didn't have a seatbelt on.
That's
so
unbelievable.
When we got into the building, I told the promoter, Hot Rod's not going to be able to wrestle. Maybe do something else. Maybe do a Piper's Pit or something like that. But Wayne's back.
Wayne is back.
And so hey, he's back.
Hey, Wayne.
If you have to go to the bathroom, just let us know next time.
I wish it was that simple. We have an arcade room in our house where we have pinball machines and racing simulators and all that. And my son was in there. He's 11, and he must have been turning on or switching one of them off, and it flicked the safety switch in the power box. So
I got you.
Outside and reset the power box. So.
I was just finishing up a story about a plane ride, and Roddy Piper was involved in it. So he banged his head pretty good in the airplane that we were in. And so I told the promoter, I don't think he should wrestle tonight. So they just did a Piper's Pit. So, weeks and months go by, and and he'd say, Uncle Bob, can you give me an adjustment? Because we were our own chiropractors and doctors and nurses and whatever we had to do for each other. Because if you didn't get into the squared circle, you didn't eat. I mean, you didn't make any money. If you didn't perform, you didn't get paid. So I'm like giving him these adjustments on his neck, and I hear this big pop, and he'd screech, ow, ow. Oh God, that feels good. Oh, that feels good. And so we finally, about maybe 6 months later, he calls me up, and I'm not on the same show as him. And he goes, Uncle Bob, we got something great to tell you. I said, what? He said, I just got out of the doctor's office. I said, what? What happened? What's wrong? He said, remember that plane ride we did? I said, yeah. He said, I broke my neck. I said, what? He said, when I hit the ceiling of the airplane, the doctor said I broke my neck. And for 6 months, you've been adjusting me, my broken neck. I said, God, I could have killed you. I mean,
yeah.
You could have been a paraplegic, quadriplegic.
Yeah.
That's why you're not supposed to do your own adjustments, Dad.
I guess not. So anyway, where were we? Where were we with Wayne? How did we get the name the Maniac?
Wayne, that story that you told of your first experience where you had been the security and then I love that you guys did it that way, because all the fans were like, it's never going to happen. He really is just security. And then you surprised him with that. That was awesome.
That's the ultimate surprise.
Yeah, and it was kind of just naturally how it happened, because that's what the intention was in the first place, was just to be security. That's it. Watch the show, enjoy the show, not to go there to become part of the show, but that's what happened. So, but the name, the Maniac itself, it's funny. It came from my mum, and like I said, my mum was not the biggest fan of me becoming a wrestler. Later on, she would come to the matches. She would sit in the front row with my dad. She would yell and scream at the heel, get off here, that's my son, don't you hurt my son, and all this. And I'd roll out of the ring afterwards. I'd walk past Mum, and she's there, and she'd come up to me, and she goes, you all right, darling? Whisper in my ear, and I'd just look at her. It's like she'd almost have a heart attack every time she'd come.
Yeah.
But the first time
mothers do.
Yeah, absolutely. But the first time I did it, I told Mum, because Mum wasn't there that night, because we didn't really know we were going to do it at that stage. It was just the last, you know what it's like, Sarge, last minute call. This is what's happening tonight. This is what we're doing. Okay. Right. So I came home and I'm just buzzing from it all. And Mum was, what happened? What happened? So I told her, and she's looked at me and she goes, you what? And I explained it to her again. And she goes, so you're working, but then you run to the ring like a bloody maniac and then do all this stuff in the ring. And I've just gone, what did you say? She goes, you were working and then you run to the ring like a bloody maniac. And I've gone, oh my God, there it is. That's perfect. So my mum, she passed away now 5 years ago, coming up very soon, in fact, but she was the one that it just came out. And then thinking of the character being somebody that could just go in there and go berserk and have no disregard for, or no regard for anyone. The character slowly evolved, where I was a huge face to start with, because there was nobody as big as me around in the Australian scene doing what we did, to then having some people not like me, but like, it was very much a stone cold sort of a deal. You know, you could be the good guy and the bad guy. So I ended up during matches, sometimes I'd pop the ref and the crowd would go nuts for it, whereas normally you'd get booed and so on. Right. And then I brought in some contacts for some white eyes to make me look a bit more crazy. I got all the leathers. I had leather chaps. I had a leather vest. We had logos and everything put all over it. And then I had a promoter one day in Melbourne, in Victoria. He said to me, he goes, have you ever worked heel? I said, well, kind of, but not really. He said, do you reckon you can do it? I said, yeah, I reckon I can do it. So we gave it a shot. I pulled the chair out. I've cracked the other guy I was wrestling. I've smacked the ref. A couple of people have come in. I've popped them as well, and they're all down. Next minute, there's food being thrown at me. They hate me and all this. But then I got the pin, and then they all cheered me. And the promoter's like, what's going on? What? You know, they
like that guy.
Yeah. And then I was like, shit, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I had an injury that took me out for a while. And I ended up starting to get some tattoos of my kids' names on my arms. That's all it was really going to be, because my mum hated tattoos. And I said, Mum, I promise it's just their name. You know, it's that big, you know. Ended up being my whole forearm. But then it just continued. So all of a sudden, I've come back. It is. It's an absolute addiction. That noise of the zzz and the smell of the
Animax.
Yeah, ink. So I ended up getting both my sleeves done, my chest done, my back done. I've got my hand done now. I've got, funny enough, even though I'm Australian, on the back of my left calf, it looks like somebody's torn the flesh away. And because I was so obsessed with wrestling for so many years, I have an American flag tattooed on my left calf, which looks like it's coming out of me.
That's
so it's
cool.
like that was buried inside me from a long time ago. But
that's
I came
cool.
back with
That's
all
like
these
some
tattoos.
foreshadowing.
Yeah. I'll try and get a picture of it and show you guys later. It's awkward to get to, but yeah, I come back with all these tattoos on, and that was the easiest way to become a heel. They all looked at me like, who is this evil looking bugger? You know, I've got tattoos up my neck here and all this. And from there on, the heel came out. But it was still, again, it was the heel, but it was the heel that everyone loved. It was really strange. But you know what? I'm not going to argue with it. I still like getting cheered, but I love doing, like, I'd have a chain in my belt, and I'd pull it out and I'd choke my opponent with the chain. And then I'd go, ref, is that your mum? And he'd look over to see that, and I'd throw the chain that way, and they would just love it. So,
yeah,
it was good fun.
When you watched wrestling on television, was it always up to date, or was it a few weeks behind?
It would be a little bit behind, and then we would get, WrestleManias would come probably about a month or so late. So everything that would come to Australia would be really delayed. I remember watching, we used to have a show on Channel 9, which is one of our big TV stations, and it was called The Wide World of Sport. And it would run for the entire length of a Saturday, probably from about 10 a.m. till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they would show you every sport you could think of that have Formula One racing, that have horse racing, that have badminton, golf, all of this sort of stuff. But there would always be this 5 minutes of wrestling in there. But you would never know when it was going to come on. Never. So I'm this little kid sitting there having to watch from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, all this other rubbish that I don't care about,
right,
just to get this 5 minutes of wrestling. And I remember it was ironic one time, it was your match against the Sheik in Madison Square Gardens that come up, and you've come into the ring first, and then Sheik's jump-started the match, and he's just sprinted to the ring. He slid in, and you've just grabbed him, and you've just launched him over the top rope on the other side of the ring. And I'm just sitting there going, whoa, my God. I'm like, this is what I've been waiting the whole day for.
Yeah.
So then I managed to watch the whole match. You know, that was it. I was happy then after that. But I had to watch all this other crap first before I could get to the wrestling. That's how prevalent it was in Australia. We would only get small bits and pieces of it, whereas they'd show you the cricket, which is big here, or they'd show you the Aussie rules football and all that, whereas I'm just wanting 5 minutes. That's all I want. And then they used to bring the videos would be brought out to the video stores, and it would be, you know, I could then get the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and so on. And back then, I think I was about 13, so I was working at a big amusement center called Magic Mountain, where we'd have water slides and stuff like that. So I was making my own money. So I used to say to my dad, can you take me to the video store? And we'd go there, and I would buy the videos from the video store. I'd buy the Royal Rumble. I'd buy Survivor Series. I'd buy them all. It cost me like $120 a video because they were so hard to get. But I didn't care. That's all I worked for, was to be able to buy the wrestling videos and go home, and then I would just watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it. So that's how we had to get our fix of wrestling back then. Nowadays, it's up to date. It's on Foxtel. It's on any streaming platform you can get it to, which is really good. It makes it a lot easier.
Right.
Nice.
Were your children of age to watch you when you were the maniac at full force, full boat?
I've got an 18-year-old and an 11-year-old. So
did they enjoy, or I have two daughters, so my oldest daughter, Nicole, didn't want anything to do with it. She didn't enjoy seeing her dad get hurt or, hurt anybody else. And I was wondering that my other daughter, who's on the frame there, she couldn't get enough of it. She wanted to actually be a wrestler.
That's why we get
so opposite. I was wondering if your children were at all like that, if they enjoyed it.
Do they want to wrestle?
Yeah, well, see, my 18-year-old lives with my ex-wife, and he's a country boy. He lives in the country, so he likes to go out hunting, dirt bike riding, all that sort of stuff. He knew what I did, but he didn't quite advertise it to his friends where he lived. But they found out who I was and what I did, and they would follow me on the internet or social media and so on. And I used to get in trouble because I would post pictures of me and my oldest son, and I'd be like, I love you, son, miss you, blah, 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 blah. And I'd get a text from him, and I'd go, Dad, take it down. Like, take what? Take what down? You just take the photo down. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, all my friends follow you. Can you take that picture of that down? All right. I'd have to take the picture down because it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Then my 10-year-old, he's 11 now, sorry, Hunter, the one that just tripped the power, he kind of digs the wrestling, but he is much the same as like you said, Sarge. He never used to like to see me sell and get beat up. He would really worry about it. And because I used to always love it, I'd tell him, I'd go, grab the chair. You're so much smaller than me. Smash me with the chair. And I said, I'm just going to look at you. And then go bang, and I'd just glare at him, and Hunter would be like this, like, oh, no, And you'd have to go past again outside the ring on my way through, and I'd just grab his hand quickly as I'm walking past. So he knew that I was all right. That was my thing. I said, give me your hand. I'll squeeze your hand. I'm all right. So he'd be all right like that. But he'd cringe a little. But if anyone is going to do it, it would be Hunter, my youngest one. He's like me. He wants to be an actor as well. So, he can do voices. He can do accents. He loves to just mess around and be an absolute goof, and then he tries to kick the crap out of me anytime that he can. So I think that's pretty much where he's headed.
Yeah. He's got the entertainment and the performing aspect to it, and then he also wants to kick some ass.
Yeah. Well, if you can see behind me, on the shelf behind me there's one of my world title belts that's framed. Mm-hmm. I've got 11 of them that I had. I think it's 11. I had 8-time Australian heavyweight champion. Then I had 3-time world heavyweight champ. That's a world title belt that I had there. Oh. And what I did is when I won them, I would go back to the belt maker and have them remade and then framed so that I could keep them to give to my boys when they're older. Nice. And there's one that I got. It was called the Super Hulk heavyweight title, and you had to be over 120 kilos to be able to compete for the belt to start with. And I was the first person to ever win that. And on the plate on the belt, it has a big picture of the Hulk like running and so on. So Hunter claimed that one from the day I won that. And he goes, "That's mine."
Yeah.
So
nice.
So are you kind of semi-retired or retired from the ring work?
Yeah, I officially retired in 2017 from wrestling. Like yourself, I've had so many injuries, so many surgeries. I've had twin knee reconstructions twice on both knees.
Oh, man.
Tore my quad off my right knee, had that repaired. Tore that pec off, had them repaired.
Oh, my goodness.
I had that hand completely busted open. There's a big scar down there to repair that. I tore this bicep. I've torn that tricep. I've had neck surgery. So I've had quite a bit. And I didn't even get up to your standard of wrestling. I was still doing the indies and all that sort of stuff. So to have to weather all those injuries just on that level makes it very hard. So I had the opportunity to wrestle Scott Steiner. And I figured it's not going to get much better than that, I don't think. I said to Scott, you're going to be my final match, Scotty. I said, I'm really honored to be able to wrestle you. And Scotty was like, okay, but I was so much bigger than him by the time that he got to me to wrestle as well. So he said to me, I said, what would you like to do? I was really respectful. Anything you want to do, Scott, you tell me. Whatever it is, we'll get it done. He goes, I don't want to get hurt. I said, I hear you. Absolutely, I hear you. He said, right. He said, so what we're going to do is, he goes, I'll get in the ring first. He goes, I'll try and attack you as you're climbing in. He said, a couple of shots in the turnbuckle, throw me outside. He said, we're going to bust through the barrier. And he said, we're going to brawl through the whole building.
Yeah.
So we went right up into the stands. We went through the bar. I'm getting a beer and drinking it and then smashing it in his face.
That's awesome.
Fire exit doors. We're throwing tables and chairs. He's made his way back down to the ring, couldn't get over the barrier. The whole barrier's collapsed and fell forward. I grabbed him and picked him up and thrown him into the ring. I think the biggest hit I gave him was I whipped him in the corner, and I come from one side, and I used to be able to jump pretty much from the middle of the ring and do a stinger splash and land on him in the corner. And at my size, it looks pretty scary. So I give him one of those, and he went down. I went for a pin. I got a 2. Then he said, I want to put you in the recliner. I said, yes, please do. He's got me in there and he's yanking away, and I'm still like, this is just killing me. And I broke the hold with the ropes. And the way we did it was a bit of a schmoz at the end. We had some bad guys come in to help Scott, and they're all beating me up. And then we had some of my good guys come in, and one guy brought a baseball bat. Scotty's powdered and taken away, and then we got the pop victory because we ended up beating the bad guys. When I went backstage, he's come up to me and he's given me a really big hug, and I'll never forget this. And he said, thank you so much. He said, I've not had a match like that where I've had so much fun and I haven't got hurt once. And I thought, wow, that was huge for him to say that to me. The funny thing was, too, I had the black beard with the white stripe. Scotty had the white beard with the black stripe. And I said, we must be father and son. And he just laughed.
Do you happen to have a tape of that?
I do have a tape of that. I have all over there. I've got the massive show poster. It's huge as well.
I'd love to see that sometime.
Yeah, I'll send the link through to you guys so you can watch it. Yeah. And
that'd be great.
I'll send the show poster through because the show poster is awesome. So.
People really don't realize that that's the hardest match because you do all those things outside the ring, up the stairs and the tables and the drinking the beer, and it blows you up. I mean,
it does.
It's like an actual brawl that you're going through, and you got to be careful so you don't run into other people that are in the way. And then you finally get back into the ring, and you're like, "Okay, here we go."
It's like, quick, put me in a lock and hold me there.
Just to hear from your opponent that it was great, I didn't get hurt, and everything's fine. That's the medal on your chest there. Yeah. To go through all that abuse, before you even worked with a guy at one time. I mean, that's a badge of honor. And that was always one thing that I always enjoyed was when my opponents always said, never got hurt. Yeah. That meant more to me than anything, because I was not real stiff, but I was solid. I was snug, as we say in the business.
Yeah. I would always like to make it look as real as possible. Like I would swing a punch that would be that far from their nose, but I'd never hit them.
Yeah.
But funny Scott, when he came to us, I don't know if he had been in Australia before for another show. But he was only going to wrestle 2 matches. One was a guy in Melbourne, and then there was me. We wrestled in Perth. And everyone was petrified of Scott. They said, he's so angry. He's so mean. Don't piss him off. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I'm thinking, okay. And I'm thinking, well, I'm bigger than him. I'm not too scared, but still, it's Scott Steiner. I've got to be completely respectful. So I've watched the match from Melbourne because it was a couple of weeks beforehand. And he's just obliterated this guy. And I've gone, oh, Jesus. Yeah. And I've spoken to the guy afterwards, and I said, how was it? He goes, oh, my God. He said, he kicked the shit out of me. Yeah. He said, I'm glad I did it. He said, but Jesus, did I get smashed? He said, oh, my God. He said, I'm still frightened of him now. And that, okay, something, oh, no, how am I going to handle this? So when he turned up, I straight up there, put my hand out, and I said, hi, Scott, I'm Wayne. I said, I'll be working with you tonight. I said, when you're ready, You come grab me if you like, and you tell me what you want to do. I said, I'm happy for anything. And I think that's where I left him alone after that. I didn't see him until 5 minutes before our match.
Right.
He didn't say a word
That's
to
the way
me.
Scotty is, yeah.
Yeah. And then he's come up to me and said, right, this, and this.
Right.
I don't want to get hurt. Let's do that. And then that's it. I said, yep, done. Perfect.
Yeah. That's all I had lived from that point on.
Yeah.
But he was like a Jekyll and Hyde. He could be the easiest match in the world, but then he could beat the hell out of you. I mean, I never wrestled him, but I saw many nights where I'm glad I wasn't in there.
Yeah.
Kelly, you got a question for Wayne? I've been kind of hogging the screen here.
Yes. So I wanted to talk. Actually, Dad, I wanted to ask you a question about Young Rock and how you found out that Rock wanted to use Sarge in the show.
Great question.
Yeah, I was given a call by Rock's agent, and they said, we're wondering if you have time to talk with Rock, because he's coming out with this series called The Young Rock about his life growing up in the wrestling business. And he really loved you as an influence in his career and his life, and would like to know if you would mind him using your character in the show. And I said, not at all. And I thought he wanted me to actually be in the series, and I said, I don't know if I can handle, doing all that. But he let me know that I just going to use my name and my character, and they were going to have somebody else portray me. So that was one relief. And then I wondered, well, who's going to play me? You kind of wonder who they're going to get to play me, because I did wrestle The Rock. I helped train him a little bit, but I didn't really, other than giving him verbal advice and those types of things, I never was really in the ring with him. And I just was wondering who he thought would be a good Sergeant Slaughter character. So when I found out from his crew that Wayne had been given the nod to play me, I didn't know what Wayne looked like. So I had the anticipation, and I had to go through with everybody else of what am I going to look like? Who's this guy going to, is he going to look like me? Is he going to act like me? Is he going to talk like me? And so I was glued to the television to watch that first. And Wayne and I had conversed emails, back and forth. And he, of course, was giving me all the thank you so much for allowing me to, just a great gentleman as he is and as he's been on this show so far. And it just relaxed me knowing that I think they probably picked the right guy, because your I guess your outlook on life is a lot like mine. I give it 150%, and when I want to relax, I relax. I know what the business is, and I know what the business is in making movies and commercials and the voiceovers and all those things. And you have a great attitude, which is, you kind of pat myself on the back, but I don't think they could have picked a better guy to portray me. Wow. Especially after I saw the first episode, I went, wow, I mean, he makes me even look better than me. I mean, I thought they're going to have this little wimpy looking guy, yelling like the Sarge, but it was really I was very impressed, and
Thank you.
and very, very happy that you got the role and what you went through. I'll let you tell the story on how you got the role.
Yeah, I know you said before, Wayne, that you went originally for, I think, Boss Man's role or something.
Brutus Beefcake was the first one.
Brutus Beefcake, yes.
Brutus Beefcake, I was asked, I saw an advert where a casting agent was looking for wrestlers, and they didn't say what the project was. And the casting agent lady actually had cast me in a movie prior, so she knew how big I was and how I looked. And they said, all right, we're going to contact your agent. So they contacted Ann Peters, my agent here. And she said, okay, we've got a role for you. She goes, do you know Brutus Beefcake? Of course not. Yes. She goes, they want you to audition for a small part in the show as Brutus. Okay. So me being me, when I do an audition, I don't just sort of, get in front of the self-tape here, remember my lines and just deliver it and see what they think. I go all out. So I went and got the pink forearm sleeves, cut the fingers out, got the bow tie, put the vest on with no shirt underneath, and got a pair of massive clippers from out the back. So I was trying to portray as much beefcake as I could because I didn't have the big mullet hair or anything. And at that time, again, I had a big black beard, a lot bigger than what this was. And it was only one small line of, I think, we're going to do the strut up and down your spine. That's all I had to say. So I did that one, and I thought that was okay and sent that one through. And I didn't hear anything, so I rang Ann back, and I said, Ann, is there any word? Are they interested? She goes, look, I'll find out. I'll call you back. She rang me back. She goes, look, they liked it. They want you to try a different one. I said, great, okay. She goes, because she doesn't know anything about wrestling at all. So she goes, do you know a person called King Kong Bundy? I said, yeah. She goes, you reckon you could do him? And I've gone, if they have a fat suit, absolutely. I said, I've got the bald head. I can have the bald head. I'll shave clean. No problem. So again, it was a very small one-liner. And it was give me a 5 count, as Bundy used to do when he'd do the pins. When he'd be on there, he'd go 5. So I said, all right. So I give that one a shot. Did that and didn't hear anything back. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. And I rang Ann back and I said to Ann, I said, now I've found out what the show's about. And it's about Rock's life growing up. And I think, oh, my God, I have to be in this TV show. She comes back to me and I said to her, I said, Ann, what's going on? She goes, I'll find out. Don't worry. So she's rang me back. She goes, all right. She goes, I reckon I got it. I said, okay. She goes, do you know Sergeant Slaughter? And I've gone, do I know Sergeant Slaughter? I said, are you kidding me? She goes, that's a yes. I said, yes. She goes, all right. I'm going to send you the script for you to do your audition. I went, all right. So whilst I found this out, I've grabbed Hunter, my youngest son. I said, come with me. He said, where are we going? I said, come with me. So we've driven down to the military store, and I've gone in and I've bought this massive camo jacket, camo hat. I've bought your aviator sunglasses. I've even bought the whistle on the drawstring. Anything that I could get to depict you, I bought straight away. And I thought I've got to go all out for this one. So they've given me the script, and it's the scene where I'm in the grandmother's apartment, and I have to say that, the apologies for Macho Man because it's his girlfriend's birthday, but I'm taking notes for him like this and hold up there's the American flag and the eagle and all that drawn on there. And they said to me, look, they want you to ad-lib a little bit. They want you to have a bit of fun with it. Don't be too serious and so on. I said, all right. And I did my first one and I sent it off, and she comes back to me and she goes, what's with the voice? I said, what do you mean? She goes, what's with the voice? It's this growl. I said, you have no idea. I said, have you seen or heard of Sergeant Slaughter before? She goes, no. I said, just go do your own homework. I said, trust me, I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So then I've done a couple more takes, and what I've done to mess around with it a bit was I drew on the notepad as well. I drew the eagle, I drew an American flag, but then I drew a ring, and I drew these stick figures, and I drew Macho Man on the top rope. So when I've gone, I'm taking notes for him. You know, here's the eagle, here's there. And I went, and here's Macho Man on the top rope. Ooh, yeah. Dig it. And I threw the pad across the table. And I've just finished it like that. And I've sent it in. And she's come back to me. She goes, it's hilarious. And I said, that's what you wanted, wasn't it? She goes, yeah. Mind you, I've got this enormous black beard like a pirate as well. So you can't see anything but that. Everything, right. You can't see anything. So I put that in and I've waited. And I think it was about 86 days after that fact, because I kept bringing it in going, anything, is there anything? She goes, there's nothing, just wait. So they've come back to Anne and they've said to her, they said, all right, the producers have seen the audition. They love Wayne. They said they think he's great. Now, meanwhile, I didn't know that the producers involved The Rock himself in picking of the characters. They said, but there's one thing you've got to do. I said, okay, what's that? They said they need to see your jawline and your chin. I said, oh, okay. I said, what does that mean? She goes, you need to shave your beard off. I've gone, ooh. I said, I've had this for, not the beard, but a goatee at least, let alone the beard, for over 30 years, close to 30 years. And I said, so do I have the role? And she's going, you were 99% there, but they have to see this. So essentially, no, you don't. And you might not if you don't look right, but if you do, you're in. So I said, all right. My wife's come home and I said, you're never going to guess. She goes, what? She goes, you got it. I said, no, I haven't. I said, but I said, I've almost got it. She goes, well, what's the problem? I said, I have to shave my beard off. She's going, so? I said, I haven't been clean shaven in 30 years, pretty much. She goes, just do it. She goes, you grow hair that quick on your face as it is. So the next day I've gone into the bathroom and I'm standing there staring at myself in the mirror and I'm going, oh my God. So start getting the clippers and start taking it away. And I'm like, I'm crying. Oh my God. It's coming off in the sink. And I'm just looking down and there's all this black hair. And I've gone, what have I done? And then, of course, I get the moustache and I'm using my clippers to try and do it as best as I can. And I'd grown a bit of hair by then too. So I kind of had the military haircut. I was shaved on the sides, but I had some hair on top. So I did the moustache, put the jacket on that I'd bought, put the hat on and the sunnies and so on, did one photo with the sunnies and one without, and I sent them in. And I swear to God, I don't think it was even 24 hours. And they called back and they said, you got it. Done. It is yours. Because what I did was, because I'm not so pronounced with my jaw and my chin, I can push my bottom jaw forward and push my teeth forward so that they go in front of my front teeth. I don't know how or why, but I can. But when I do that, you can't see it with my beard at the moment, but when I do that, I get more of that very, military look, prominent look that you have. So I did that in the photos, and that's when they've gone, you're it. So I got the call driving in the car, and Anne's rang me. She goes, congratulations. And I said, what? She goes, you've got it. And I'm like, yeah. And so anyone that was sitting next to me in the car, I'm going, yeah, I'm losing my mind. Imagine people in the car next to me going, what the hell's wrong with him? So,
he's a maniac.
So glad that you did. You really make Sarge look like the Sarge. I mean, a lot of times, through my career, people have come up and said they're dressed up like me, and they go, everybody says I look like you, and I go, oh, I look like that. and some. Every once in a while, someone will come by and they'll look pretty good, but then they start talking, and it's not, kind of kills it all. But you, my friend, you got it all. I mean, for taking the effort to take the beard off just to get that part.
It's a good thing you listened to your wife.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I listen to my wife all the time, and she gives the best advice.
Yeah, so, I agree with you.
So there's actually a picture that your friend drew, Wayne. It's kind of like a meld between you and my dad.
Yes. Oh, that's one of the guy that did the picture. He did this one as well. Yeah. Are you talking about the split that has half me, half Sledge?
I have that one too. but it was this one and then the other one that you emailed him, my dad, recently.
Yes.
The first there's one of you with the campaign cover on, also that your friend drew.
Yes.
That you sent to me.
That's the close-up, the mid-shot one. Yeah.
And it's amazing how a pencil can make you look so different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I said to him I wanted to bring Sarge into the 22nd century and make you just look, I don't know how I could make you look any better than you do, but we wanted to make it a touch meaner by incorporating my style of tattooing, because where it says Slaughter across your chest there, I in fact have Maniac tattooed across my chest.
Right.
So we wanted to switch it a little so that it was similar to me, but you. And then, he came up with this, which I think looks just insane. And the one, like you said, with the campaign cover, which is more of just the torso, where you're just jacked and the hat and the sunnies and everything. There it is.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
Got the cigar.
Yeah.
Love it. That's really
Johnny
cool.
did a really great job. Johnny's a comic book artist in America, in LA. And he did some work for me years ago. He became a fan of the Maniac. And then when I told him about this, he just lost his mind. He said, I've got so many ideas. I've gone, great, bring them on.
Yeah. Wait.
The way the picture is on here, it looks like my arm is you, Dad. My logo behind you.
Yeah. Does it? Yeah.
That's cool.
Wait, is this the same gentleman that drew the poster of us?
Yes, it is, Johnny.
Okay. Because
And
Kelly.
is that the poster where it's the half and half?
Half and half,
Yep.
yeah.
I'll get that and I'll have that put up.
Yeah.
No, Johnny did that one for me first when he first found out about me getting the role. And I said to him, can you do something where it's half me but half Sarge, because we're going to kind of become one in a sense, especially in this show. I'm going to have to bring my Sergeant Slaughter into me and lose Maniac in a sense for the show, which is no problem. But I said I have to transform from me into him. And that's kind of where that picture come from.
Yeah. The first season went really well for the Young Rock. And you made me look really, really good. And I got to watch I've only got to watch the one episode where you were wrestling Jake the Snake. And you told me in an email a funny story that happened. So I was wondering if you would share that story because I told you that, isn't it funny that there you are. Got the campaign cover.
Campaign cover with your chin strap and your badge, in fact.
Yes.
Very proud of that. Thank you so much.
Did that look like? It almost looks like I'm looking in a mirror here.
I'd only just taken the moustache off days earlier, prior to the campaign cover arriving, because if I knew that it was going to arrive that soon, I would have left the moustache on just to have the full look. But I thought, oh no, it's still going to look. See, there's my whistle and everything around my neck. And
unfortunately, you got the campaign cover after the series was over. Second season was over.
Yeah, I spoke
the third season.
Ryan and told him that I have that now, and said if Sarge is required for season 3, which I would love, I'll bring it with me. And we can incorporate it as part of the costume.
That'd be wonderful. But tell the story about your filming with Jake and the Snake.
You're terrified of snakes, aren't you?
I have a phobia of snakes. I cannot stand them. I'm deathly afraid of snakes. And when I get the script, I'm reading the script through, and I see they've got a whole lot of new characters that appear in season 2. We've already had George the Animal Steel appear, Tony Atlas, and there's quite a few more that will come soon. But of course, I have a program with Jake throughout the entire series, and I'm thinking, oh my God. I think, all right. So I'm reading through this one thing, and we've got a scene where it's a cut, like a monologue cut scene of all different matches, and it's me and Jake. So I've got to take the DDT cell that I'm out cold, and does the snake gimmick on me, puts the snake all over me. And I'm thinking, okay. I said, well, to my wife, and I said, surely they're not going to use a real snake. I don't know. Oh my God.
Hooray for Hollywood.
Oh.
There's that CGI stuff they can use, right?
Well, you would think. That's right. So I've arrived in Queensland, and production know of my phobia of snakes, and they're well aware of it and so on. So the first day I get there, I'm sitting in the apartment waiting because I won't go to set till the next day. And one of the producers rings me and he goes, Wayne, he said, look, we know of your issues with snakes. I said, yeah. He said, you don't like them, do you? No, not at all. He's all right. He said, we have a solution if you like. And I said, okay. He goes, we've got a body double that we will use, bring him in, and the bits with the snake and so on, we'll use him if you like. I said, but there's quite a bit with the snake and me and so on for that part. He said, yeah, but look, that'll stop you from having to deal with the snake and so on. I said, I'm not letting some body double take my camera time. I said, screw that. I said, I'll deal with the snake. And they said, are you sure? I went, no, but I'll try.
But I'll try, yeah.
So the following day, or the next following days, they decided to do a meet and greet for me and the snake. So we come into an area where the ring is, and Ben, the gentleman who plays Jake, who, my God, looks like the mirror. There he is. I can't believe how much Ben looks like Jake. It's ridiculous. He comes in, and I said to Ben, how are you with snakes? I said, are you used to snakes or anything like that? He goes, I don't know. I said, what do you mean I don't know? He goes, I haven't really handled a snake or anything. I'm thinking, oh, my God. So he doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know what I'm doing. They pull this box up, and I'm not kidding. It's like a massive guitar box. And they open it up, and there is this 35-kilo massive snake. It's like thick. It's like that. And I'm like, where the hell is that supposed to go? And they go, oh, he's going to put it all over your body and around your neck. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So Ben just goes straight up and picks it up and he's putting it on his shoulders like Jake, and he's holding it and showing everyone and all this. And then he comes over to me and he goes, do you want a shot? And I went, no. He goes, isn't it supposed to be your meet and greet with a snake? I said, yeah, hey, hi, snake. That's it. And they're like, well, all right. They said, do you want to practice the scene? I said, not really. I said, but I guess we should. I said, all right. They said, so come into the ring. So I've laid down on my back, basically selling that I'm out cold from the DDT. He goes, right, we're going to put the snake on you now. I went, all right. So they start putting it on, and it's heavy. And it's like a dead weight, but then it's moving. And it's going through my leg. And it's going around the other side. And it's coming around my waist. And then it comes up. And then it wraps around my head. And then it starts slithering across my face. It went across my nose. And it's going over this way. And I'm just lying there going, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. And I'm waiting. And in the end, Ben takes it off me. And I'm still lying there. And before I could get up, they're going, let's do it again. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm still on the ground. So Ben again does it again, puts the snake on me and so on. And I'm lying there just, I'm counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, trying to get my way. There you go. Look, you can see the size of the thing. So long story short, we've done the practice day and everything's worked out fine. I'm like, okay, so it comes to shooting on the day and we're all ready to go. And like there's all these people that they've got for the crowd. And so we've gone through it, and I helped Ben, along with Chavo, who was our wrestling coordinator, to nail the DDT. And Chavo, being ex-WWE, and he knows that I was a wrestler as well, he's looked at me and he goes, are you right with the DDT? I said, yeah, of course I am. He goes, no concussion. He goes, I know what you're like. Because, like, if I'm going to take a move, I'm going to take it full force. I don't care. My head's going in that mat. It doesn't matter. So, and I figured, too, look, if I knock myself out, then that's perfect because I'm not going to know about the snake anymore anyway. So we get the DDT. He nails me. I don't get knocked out. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, here we go. So I stay on my face from the DDT to make it legit that Ben has to roll me over to get the pin. So I've done that, and he's got the pin, and then he's doing his thing where he points over to the bag, and the crowd start going off for the bag, as we know, like Jake used to. And he comes closer, and I'm still lying there, and I've got my eyes shut. I'm just trying to stay calm and try not to move. But then I know when the snake comes out of the bag because the crowd just went nuts. And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, here it comes. Here it comes. So he goes and he puts the snake all over me. He wraps it around my leg because, as you can see, one of my legs is up a little bit. He's wrapped it around there. He's put it around my head. So it's gone around my head, and it starts moving and stretching around me. And then all of a sudden, to add insult to injury, because the snake must have known how scared I was, it's come right past my ear and it's hissed in my ear.
Oh.
And I'm going, oh. And I'm lying there and the crowd's still going berserk and the snake's there. And I'm just waiting for the director to go, cut. And I'm going, when the hell is he going to cut? And then it comes like, cut. I'm thinking, oh, God. But then Ben leaves the snake on me for a minute. And I'm thinking, we just get the bloody thing off. And then he picks it up and takes it away. And I've got up. And everyone, like the director, and that's all come up to them and going, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm fine. They said, you sure? I said, no, I'm good. He goes, oh, good. One more take.
Oh, no.
So I had to do it twice.
Oh, my God.
And it was the same scenario. The snake, again, wraps itself around wherever it wants to. Didn't hiss in my ear this time, so I think it only wanted to really upset me the first time. But we got it done in 2 takes. They had 7 cameras around the place, so they got great shots of it. But yeah, that was my first encounter with a snake. I've got 2 encounters with the snakes in the show, so second one again is not as much fun either. So
no, I bet not.
I'm glad it was you because I never had to wrestle Jake with the snake. I wrestled Jake Roberts before he was Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you had to go through it and not me. But I'm not afraid of snakes. I just, never had to go through that part because those snakes were very unpredictable.
I can imagine. I mean, my second scene with Jake with the snake is, I won't give away too much, but let's just say that big snake that he put on me doesn't live very long after that.
Oh.
So
no.
in the last scene, he's got a new snake, and it's Damien. This one is Damien because that's the original one that he had. Damien is not that big. It's a baby that's about this long. It can wrap around your arm and all this sort of stuff. But again, it's a snake. I don't care if it's this big or this big. It's a snake. I don't like it. So I'm tied up in the ropes, literally tied up. I can't move anywhere. And he pulls it out of the bag, and I'm supposed to just lose my mind because he's going to come right up and he's going to have it right in my face like this. And, of course, there was no acting needed.
I was going to say that'd be easy to do.
Came out straight away. I'm trying to kick him, and I'm trying to get him with my knees and move away, and he's getting there, and he's pushing things out the way to stick it right in my face. And I'm thinking, the thing's about this far from my face. And it's looking at me, and I'm going, shit, it's going to bite me on the nose. I know it's just going to go, wow, just get me. But it didn't. But again, it was still having my arms tied so I couldn't do anything was worth. I'm thinking, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the director would come up after the scene, and he'd go, how are you? You all right? I said, there was no acting in that. He goes, we could tell. And I said, that's good, right? Because that's great. We did that scene 6 times.
Oh, no.
I had to put up with that one and that one because I'm thinking, come on. He goes, nah, all right, let's do it again. I'm like, it's unbelievable.
I can imagine how scary that must be if you have a phobia of snakes. So one of my favorite wrestlers was Jake the Snake because I wanted a snake. Dad, do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I asked you and I begged. I was like, Dad, please, can I get a snake? I want a snake. And you were like, your mother is never going to let you have a snake. And also because I was a big animal lover. So I had gerbils and rabbits and all sorts of other animals. But I remember you being like, what about your gerbils? You know, your snake is going to eat the gerbils. And I was like, no, they're in separate containers. Trying to convince you guys to get me the snake.
It's funny, you know, Jake is not very fond of snakes himself.
I remember you mentioned that to me in an email. Yeah.
He hates snakes because he never liked him in the first place. And he's not the one that came up with the idea. So he all of a sudden's got this snake go. They always traveled the snakes with him, but Jake hated snakes. He didn't want anything to do with snakes. I came in the locker room one night, and the big yellow snake was hanging in the shower. And Jake had the shower going, and I think it was the handle actually that was doing it, but the snake had wasted all over the locker room. He got mad and he pooped everywhere, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And so they had to spray it down because it was mad. It was mean, and you know, guys would walk by the bag and whack it, you know, get it mad. And so when Jake would go out to the ring and undo the bag, you never knew what the snake how he was going to react because unless somebody had their eye on that snake bag, you know, God knows what they may have even given the snake, you know, the crazy guys in the back. You know, the boys, you know, playing ribs on, you know, like they did with the dog, you know, the British bulldogs, all they used to give the dog different things and give it X-Lax and be in the middle of the ring and be all over the place to have diarrhea. And I mean, it was awful. But, you know, just in our business, nothing was sacred. I mean, and Jake just hated it because he never knew what that snake was he didn't know what was going on half the time. And when it bit Macho Man that one time, that wasn't supposed to happen.
That was a cobra, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. It
was a cobra. I've never seen that.
It didn't have poison, but it bit Macho Man in the arm. He's tied up in the ropes, like you described. As you described in your scene in the Young Rock, he was tied up in the ropes, and he was just like, couldn't scare Macho Man, and all of a sudden, wham! That snake snatched onto his arm.
I actually made the crew freak out when we were rehearsing the last scene where he had to have the snake in my face. And what they did is while we were rehearsing first, they gave Ben, who plays Jake, a rubber snake, but it looked real. And it was about the same size and so on. So we would rehearse and we were doing it. And we did this one time and he got it just too far. He was like touching my nose with the rubber snake. So I've gone, I'll fix you. I've just gone, and I've gone out and
had an Aussie moment.
And I'm going, I'm shaking it around like this. And the people that were playing the extras in the crowd behind us have just lost it, going, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm just going, puh! And I spat it out on the ground. It looks like it's dead. And they're like, what's happened? And then Ben just picks it up and goes, it's not real.
Not real.
Not real. But they thought I'd try to bite the head off the real snake.
Now, all the characters on Young Rock are so similar to the boys that they're portraying. The characters are portraying. Are they all from Australia?
No, I think you'll find Brett Azar, who plays the Sheik, is an American. The two boys that play the Wild Samoans are from New Zealand.
Okay.
Matt Willey, who plays Andre, is an American. Kevin, who plays Macho Man, is American. Who else? The young man who plays Ricky Steamboat, Ivan, he's Australian. He's from Sydney. And then there's me. And then obviously this year there's a bigger cast. So the likes of George Animal Still, who we've seen, he's an American. The young man, Antoine, who plays Tony Atlas, he's an American. So there's only a couple of us Australians that are the cast in the show. I mean, The young man who plays Ricky really looks like Ricky when he's younger, and he's a solid built young man. So he fits perfectly, and he doesn't. I don't think he has a lot of lines. I haven't heard or seen much of him this season yet, but I'm sure he will have some. I think I was just lucky that I can put the American accent on really well, because I used to do it when I wrestled anyway, because it gives more of a stigma of a wrestler. If you sound American, they believe it more, instead of walking out after a show and going up to a fan going, "G'day, mate," and shaking their hand. They kind of like, "You're Australian?" But if you put the American accent on, it just makes it a whole much better. So I used to do that for ages, so I could do the accent really well. What I did, though, to get the growl like your voice was I would sit in the trailer and I would yell as loud as I could for a good 5, 6, 7 minutes, so my voice was really hoarse.
Right.
And I could bring it out and deliver the lines and really get that voice that you need.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. So it was, I really had
there it is.
There we go.
Nice.
That's it.
Thank you, Xazyl.
That's an awesome photo. That Johnny did that so well to join us both together. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
No, that's great. That's
very cool.
Our pride pieces, as well as I had. I think I sent you the photo. A friend of mine in Melbourne owns a memorabilia store, and he knew that I'd been fortunate enough to play you in Yarrock the first season, and he knew I got season 2. And he goes online and he bids for a whole lot of merchandise, regardless of what it is. He'll buy it, then he'll do it up and box frame it and sell it in his store. And I approached him about something else for my gym at home, and I said, "I want one of these pictures." And he goes, "Is it for you or is it for someone else?" I said, "No, it's for me." He goes, "I'll just send it to you." So he sent me what I wanted. But then he said to me, he goes, "Look, I found something else." He said, "I was going to keep it as a surprise." He said, "But I'm going to tell you anyway." I said, "Okay." He goes, "I found a belt, a WWE belt, and it's signed by Sergeant Slaughter." I thought, "Oh, wow." He goes, "I bought it for you." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I bought it for you." He goes, "I didn't care what price it went for." He goes, "I just kept bidding until I got it." I'm like, "Hey, really?" He goes, "Yeah." Russell's amazing. So he's won the belt. What they did is they put it in a box frame for me. I think I sent you a picture, maybe, Kelly, or it's on my Instagram. What they've done is they've put 4 photos of you, Sarge, in all your original gear and so on, and then it blends and turns into me as your character for the last 4. And then they've put Sergeant Slaughter, Wayne Mattei with the young rock at the bottom. So I proudly display that one at home as well, too. That was a great little surprise that Russell put together for me. So very, very proud of that.
Yeah.
Yes. And did you ever get the pictures that you asked me for?
I did get some, but I don't know if it was you or it was Xazyl. I can't remember.
Well, it was. I think my dad said he was going to email them to you.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure that you did that, Dad. I'm putting you on the spot.
I've got others that I've been waiting to send directly to him. So
okay. Wonderful. Thank you. I mean, who knows what else will come up that will be created. Johnny loves to do the drawings of us and create the artistic work like that. So it'll be exciting to see what he can come up with for sure.
Yeah.
Well, as Kelly mentioned and myself, and of course the millions of people that are watching the Young Rock, we really are enjoying it. And I laughed out loud when Pat Patterson came on. And the last time I was with Pat in Tampa, Florida, he used to always have a saying, and he came up to me, he says, "Oh, Bob, Sarge, it's so good to see you." I said, "Pat, you know who was talking about you?" And he goes, "No, who?" I said, "Nobody."
Nobody.
And he started to laugh. He started crying. And from that point on, everybody that came by, he said, hey, you know who was asking about you? Nobody. And it was the whole rest of the night was, it was just so much fun. But God rest his soul. He was, but portrayed him so good on the Young Rock.
Yeah.
The guy who plays him, and his he's French. He was French Canadian, so he's got that accent. But,
Yeah.
what
Kiff does really well. His name's Kiff. I think he's from Los Angeles, the actor that plays him. And he, in fact, says that line in Young Rock when we're sitting at a table for a meeting. He walks in, he goes, "Hey, Rocky, you know who was just talking about you?" And he goes, "No, who?" He goes, "Nobody."
Nobody.
Yeah.
And Pat was such a, oh, look at there.
There's the belt.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is nice. I like that.
It was amazing. It was such a shock because I had no idea that it was.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Wow.
So just the way they've blended together, I think it looks great. So
wow, that is nice. I like that.
Very cool. Very cool.
But the what was I just talking of? With Pat and everything, it was just so clever the way they put that in there. And now the fellow that plays Andre, is he from the U.S.?
Yes, he's Matt Willie is his name. He's a ex-NFL player.
Okay. And
did
any of them ever wrestle?
No.
Did any of them ever wrestle?
Well, sorry, I wasn't.
Yourself?
There was myself, the young man who played Peter Maivia. He's an Australian wrestler from Sydney. He's Hudson Hawk is his wrestling name. He's a good friend of mine. He wrestles.
We follow each other on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a great friend of mine. He wrestled, and then in season 2, there are one young man who plays Greg Valentine, and then another man who plays Brutus Beefcake. They both wrestle as well. So there's only a few of us. But
sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. No, go ahead.
You guys filmed in Australia, didn't you, in Queensland?
Yeah, we filmed up in Queensland. That's right. Yeah, we went. We're at the new Brisbane studios for season 1, and then season 2 we moved down to Village Roadshow studios at the back of Movie World there. So
I guess that's why I was wondering that's why I thought everybody was from Australia.
Me too, because didn't you guys just start coming out of lockdown? So I thought everybody was from Australia since you filmed there.
Yeah, we were in and out of lockdown. The virus was causing chaos here, but they were able to bring quite a few actors from the US and New Zealand over because it's deemed as essential work while creating TV entertainment. So, but they had to do quarantine. So a lot of them would have to come in, fly in, get to a hotel, spend 2 weeks locked in this small apartment room with no windows, not allowed outside. Spend 2 weeks in there, have your food delivered to the door. There would be an X on the floor in the apartment back from the door where you must stand when they open the door to put your dinner in. That's how strict it was.
Wow.
I thank God that I didn't have to quarantine because I was coming from South Australia to Queensland. We were quite good with the virus at that time. So I was lucky enough that I could transfer straight to Queensland without having to quarantine. So I came straight in and went straight to my apartment and then was able to go to work the following day. I would have found it hard if I had to quarantine. I get very claustrophobic. So if I'm locked in an apartment or a hotel room for 2 weeks with no window, I don't know how it would have went. Not being able to go to the gym. A lot of the guys would have weights brought into their room. They would have exercise bikes, all different things to keep themselves sane and still be able to train because in 2 weeks, surprisingly enough, if you train quite a bit, you can lose a lot of muscle and a lot of shape and size because you're not doing anything.
Right.
Then that mentally messes with you as well.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
What have you got going on right now, Wayne?
I've just done a couple of auditions. In fact, I did one a little while ago for the new Mad Max movie called Furiosa. Haven't heard anything about that yet. That's a long process, I think, because it keeps getting delayed shooting-wise because of virus issues and so on like that.
Sure.
And stuff. So I don't really know about that one yet. I would love to get that one. I think just with my look as I am, I fit the apocalyptic desert area, full of scumbags quite well. So, so I'm sure that would work. But I've just auditioned for an Australian movie, which hopefully we might find out about in the next couple of weeks. But then I've also now auditioned for another NBC TV series. So that one would be really good because that one's a reoccurring role. So if I can pull that one off, that would be really great. Just to keep the wheels moving, so that there's something in between. Because I know that hopefully Young Rock will be brought back for a third season. We've heard rumors. We've also heard rumors that it could be filmed in LA. So if they do that, that means as long as they want me, Sarge, we'll be heading to LA.
We might have to. Nice. We'll have to make a trip out there.
Absolutely.
Yes,
we can film the show all together.
Yeah,
we could do it. That would be great. Well, I'd like to try to get to LA in late September this year. Hopefully, just to do some networking for some other work anyway. But if we can join that in with shooting season 3, it'll be even better. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Two birds with one stone.
Yes, definitely.
One thing leads to another.
Let's hope so.
We've been playing around with an appearance over in Australia also, but my schedule is so full. I don't know when that show is. Do you remember what the name of it is, Kel?
Supernova, and it's in November. I think it was November 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th, something like that.
I would love to come back over.
Yeah. They're good. They're like big comic book conventions, pop culture. I used to wrestle at the Supernovas. They would have wrestling on there, so I'd be asked to do that. So if you come to that, I guarantee you I'll be there.
Oh yeah. Well, you'd be right next to me signing. What are you talking about?
I think my line would be a little bit shorter than yours somehow.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about maybe you could just do it for me.
I can be the stand-in when you need a break. All right, bring Wayne in.
Yeah. If we're taking a break.
As long as it means I still get to go to Australia, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Well, we need a bodyguard because if I'm going to have to help Sarge with his, I won't be able to bodyguard this time. So
that's right.
There you go. I'll be the bodyguard.
That's all.
Glad to hear things are moving forward for you.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a hard slog, as you would well know. The acting thing is not an easy gig. From trying to remember lines. Like the audition I had to do for the NBC show was 2 pages. I've still got it on my desk. There's the 2 pages worth of stuff that I had to remember to recite. Yeah. And as you're aware, you can't just deliver it because then people see you thinking about it. It has to come out, and that's what my agent teaches me. She goes, "Look, that was good, but I can see you thinking about what's the next word, what's the next line." Whereas it just has to come out, and that's what I work on. Yeah, it has to flow. So I mean, I'm getting better at it, and every time I do it, she'll give me direction, and then I'll go back and reshoot it. And my beautiful wife, she's always the one that's on the side doing the other bits of reading for me. So we have some fun times with it. There was recently with this one, there's a section where I have to shoot a bow and arrow. So we bought a toy bow and arrow, and I've said my bit, and I have to line it up next to the camera, and I just let it go, and then I look over and I go, okay, now it's your turn. So I've gone up like this, and I've gone ping, and as I've done, it's gone whack straight into the camera, and I've gone, oh shit. So I actually kept that one because it's pretty funny because I've hit it and I'm going, oh shit, and then I've bent down and gone, oh my god. But it's funny. But I actually found, which I should send you guys as well, is I have found my original Sarge audition.
Oh,
I haven't.
Oh yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, you'll be able to see the beard. Oh, there's a few of them actually, a few different ones. I had to do a few, so I did the one where I said about Macho Man as the stick figure, and then they said, "Oh, we want you to do some other stuff, do some funny stuff." So I delivered the lines, and then I gave Bundy some crap, and said, look, if I want somebody to recite the Taco Bell menu, I'll call for you, all right? And, give him some pretended the Piper was there. And I said, look, if he wants to learn how to dress like a woman, I'll send him to you, Piper, all right? So I come up with all these things just to give digs at the other boys in the auditions, and I sent them through. So I think just that I knew about the wrestling culture back then, I think that helped me quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Well, two of the most wrestlers that are imitated is the Iron Sheik and Macho Man. And of course Hulk Hogan, but he's easy to do. But you do a very good Macho Man.
Yeah, I did that once on set when Kevin was standing with me.
Yeah.
And he looked at me after I did it and he went, "Don't do that again."
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, because he was like, "Oh, that's pretty good. Don't you ever do that again."
Imitation's the biggest part of flattery. Yeah.
Yes.
But yes, I just got done doing a movie.
Really?
5 days. Five days in Baltimore, Maryland, and now I know why I didn't go into it when I had the opportunity, because it's very difficult, because we always ad-libbed everything. And then I did a couple of movies, and it was, hurry up and wait, and you sit in your trailer all day long, and you never even got on the set. And I grew tired of it because I was still young and ambitious, and so I kind of stayed away from it. But I loved doing the commercials, and then of course when I got brought into Hasbro with G.I. Joe, I did all the voiceovers, and that's a piece of cake. I mean, it's hard, but you're all by yourself. You don't have to worry about somebody missing their line and doing it over. You just do your lines and do them over and over till they're happy. And I did the Teen Titans Go Dr. Military. I'm not sure if you ever watched that.
My son does,
animated show, but I do Dr. Military, and they let me not have to scream and holler as much as a Sarge.
Yeah.
But, this character I play in this movie is called The Realtor, and he's a Sergeant Slaughter, but he's not called Sergeant Slaughter, but he's called the Coach. And he's really mean and tough, and he couldn't wrestle in the United States because he was too mean and rough, so he had to wrestle overseas all the time. So this young kid who wants to be a wrestler and has a real estate agent, and all of his friends that work at the real estate office go watch wrestling all the time. And he's leaving the matches one night, and there's a pamphlet on his windshield. If you want to become a professional wrestler, call this number, So long story short, he goes to the training camp, and the promoter likes him. And he said, "I want you to be a professional wrestler. What are we going to call you?" And he goes, "How about the Realtor?" And he goes, "The Realtor?" He said, "Yeah, that's what I am. I'm a realtor." He said, "Well, it's kind of catchy, I guess, And so anyway, he ends up beating me, and I train him. And long story short, we stopped after 5 days, and I got 5 or 6. I should say I've got about maybe 45 pages that we didn't even shoot yet. Jeez. So I don't know if it'll ever come out. But I'm looking forward for the call for them to say, "Hey, you got to come back and do some more because we haven't finished it." Because RVD, Rob Van Dam is in it, and Jake the Snake Roberts is in it also.
Oh wow!
We had a good time. Good time they were doing it. It's just it's a very, very, very low budget movie. But hopefully one day it'll come out before I pass on.
Straight to DVD.
It's a fun story, at least, I guess.
Yeah.
What?
It's a fun story, at least, I guess.
Yeah, it's a fun story. Yeah.
Sarge, you mentioned something in your latest email to me that you have something that's coming up soon that you had to sign an NDA for 3 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. And
I'm assuming we can't say anything about it yet, but it sounds exciting.
Possibly by the time this airs, it'll be well known. But I'm still sworn to secrecy. So.
I was gonna say, don't say it, Dad.
Yeah. No. Once you sign an NDA, that's it. It's all over. I have to sign them all the time for Young Rock and stuff. Yeah, that's why I have to wait so long.
It's been tough for 3 years not saying anything. It's for me anyway. I tell everything.
I'm the same. I can't keep a secret. I'm terrible.
But, we're really looking forward to it, and
excellent.
Should be really, really good. Should be a lot of fun.
Can't wait to find out what it is.
Awesome. Well, Wayne, thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight. It was really nice to be able to talk to you, and for you and Dad to be able to finally get to talk. I know you guys have emailed back and forth a lot.
No, it's been great. It's been great to be able to actually speak to Sarge instead of just typing through. Like, I love getting the responses back from Sarge, and I always say to my wife, Sarge emailed me this morning, and I'll show her and read it through and so on like that. But just to be able to chat, I reckon we've been going for close to 2.5 hours now. I reckon we could probably go for another 2.5. There's so many things I'd like to ask and listen to stories, and it would take a long time.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
We should do this after maybe this season ends with a young Rock. We can talk some more about the episodes that you appeared in, and how much fun that was, and all the stories that go along with it. I mean, we were in a business where the stories never end. It just never ends. And I'm so glad to finally meet you, even though it's just on this podcast, because I think they made the right choice, because damn, you're a good-looking guy.
You know what's funny?
You make me look good, kid.
Same thing.
Thanks for making me look so good, kid.
Look, the pleasure was all mine, you know. You took the words
right. Give you the slaughter salute.
That's it, exactly.
Job well done. Job well done. Carry on as you were, and really
now
appreciate you coming on the show.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Wayne. We'll talk with you soon.
You're dismissed.
See ya.
And now you know.
And now you know.
That was fun.
It was.
It was fun to be able to talk to Wayne.
Yeah.
He's I'm sure got so many more stories. And I actually want to talk to him about fitness and nutrition and what he does to maintain that physique of his.
Yeah. Yep. He is you hear all the injuries that he went through, but he still looks like he does. I mean,
I know.
That's dedication. That's dedication.
Yes, for sure. Definitely. Well, Dad, thank you for joining me tonight. I won't take any more of your time either.
It's okay. I'm going to go have some dinner, and here at the Slaughterhouse, Camp Slaughter, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Love you.
Sounds good. I love you too. We'll see you
later. Bye, everyone. And now you know. Now you know.
And now you know. As you were.